thanks to the grace of heaven, the holy teachers, the Tao Transmitting Masters, and everyone here today for giving me the opportunity to present this class and this topic, why should I come to the temple? First off, I would like to introduce Master Cherry Shi. As all of you guys already know, this is Master Cherry. She will be the leading master of our class. So when you see her at the temple, please refer to her as Master Cherry or Master Shu. Please don't just say Cherry out of politeness. And we will be going into more detail later on what a master is, but and all the other positions in the temple. But as of right now, just think of a master as like the temple equivalent of a pastor. Okay, and then next we are going to introduce the lectors in charge, or the LICs of this class. So there's two of us. I'm Alan. I'm the first LIC, and then the second LIC is Eric. He'll be my partner. And both of us, a little about us, we're both currently attending UC Berkeley. We're both graduating in a semester, and we have essentially grown up with the temple. The temple's been a big part of our lives, our entire lives. So we will be having guest lectures in this class throughout the year, and we will introduce those lectures as they come along. But as of right now, most often you will either see LIC Eric or myself up here teaching. And then the purpose of this class and the format. So we started this class because Master Cherry had this vision that she wanted to increase the amount of young adults in our temple, and the way to do so was to teach young adults the fundamentals of Iguan Dao and how we can apply this to our daily lives. Our class time is going to be following the same class time as the rest of the temple classes in this temple. So it's going to be on Sundays from 10 to 11:30 a.m. And one class will actually consist of 2 lectures. Each lecture is going to be 40 minutes. So on the screen, this is the typical schedule. Today was an exception as this was our first class, so we had to work through some difficulties. We moved around the lectures. But normally, the way this class is going to function is that because there's the option to attend this class online, so you don't have to come in person, we are going to officially begin class at 10:05. So we're going to give a 5-minute buffer time for everyone, for us to prepare and for everyone else on their computers or smartphones to get ready and join in on this call. And then lecture 1 will start from 10:05 to 10:45. And it's going to be, lecture 1 is going to be the main lecture where we are going to be teaching the fundamentals. So most often, lecture 1 will be taught by either LIC Eric or myself. And then afterwards, we'll have a 5-minute break, which we will not be able to do today due to time, which is from 10:45 to 10:50. And then we'll go to lecture 2, which is also 40 minutes. Lecture 2 is going to be from 10:50 to 11:30. And lecture 2 is going to vary each week in terms of content and in terms of who's teaching. So for example, some weeks we will have Master Cherry guide us in analyzing sutras, and other weeks we may have guest lecturers teaching different topics, such as how do we take these lessons that we learned in this class and apply it to our daily lives. And we may also even have more hands-on activities as the year progresses. Let me know if I'm speaking too fast, and also if you're not able to copy everything down right now, it's okay. We can talk about this after class, and we can also share this PowerPoint or any information needed. And so I mentioned that you can attend this class online. So we decided that not only to hold this class in person, but everyone attending here at the temple, you can also attend the class online because some people might be living too far to come to the temple every week, or it might be inconvenient for the transportation time. So you can actually attend this class online through Google Meet. All we need from you is going to be your email address. We're going to need a Gmail. Your email will have to be a Gmail account, and then every week we'll send you an invitation, and all you have to do is click the link, and you can attend. And you can attend the class through any device such as a computer or a smartphone. If you're going to attend through a smartphone, you're going to have to download an app, the Google Hangout, the Hangout Meet app, which is called Hangout Meet, I think. But it's not that difficulty. It's not that difficult. If you're having issues, you can just talk to us after the class or on some other time, and we will help you figure it out. And here's just an example of a screenshot of what you would be receiving every week through your email. So this is just, for this one we call it the Temple class test, but I'll just say what class and whatever week is, and then the time will be our time, so it'll be from 10 to 11:30. And then all you have to do is down here for joining info, you have the option, so you can just click the link. If you click the link on your computer, it automatically just opens it up, and you can just participate. Or you have the option of dialing in if you're using a phone and you don't have the app downloaded. If you go through this method, you may not be able to see the screen. Sometimes you'll be able to see the screen, sometimes you won't, so it varies according to the phone, I think, and how you get in. But if you dial in at the minimum, you'll be able to hear the audio. So these are the two main options of how you can attend online. And then every week before we start the lecture, we'll do this thing called weekly announcements, where we just share any information about our class specifically or anything that's going on in the temple in general. And as this is the beginning, we don't really have that many announcements right now. So instead, we're going to be going through some basic guidelines of what one should be expecting when they come to the temple. So when you arrive to or depart from the temple, think of the temple as your home. When you go to someone's house, you usually have to do a certain things such as take off your shoes before you enter, and there's maybe a few other specific routines. The same goes for the temple. When you get to the temple, before you do anything, you want to first show your respect. So when you enter from the front door, you want to give 3 bows, and then after giving 3 bows, you want to go upstairs and do the arrival and departure or the departure ritual, depending on if you're arriving or leaving. Some of the things we're going over right now some of us might not know today, and that's okay. We'll be covering these as we go along throughout the year, and we'll be bringing these up. So if you do know the ritual at this point, great, you can do the ritual. If not, you can find Master Cherry or one of us, and we could help guide you in doing the ritual in the beginning. So after doing the ritual, you'll notice that by the shrine, there's going to be 2 portraits, one on the left and one on the right. These portraits are significant figures in our Iguan Dao. So they have already passed away and gone to heaven. So we want to show our respect to them too. So we want to give 3 bows to each portrait. And then one of them is the Lao Chen, and the other one is Senior Master Yang, which is the founder of our temple. And then after doing that, you can head downstairs and you can come to the class. And every time, whenever you're walking around in the temple, when you first get here, if you see a master, you also want to give them a bow to show your respect for them. And then briefly, I want to talk about the uniforms. So please refrain from wearing shirts that do not cover your shoulders, such as tank tops. Please refrain from wearing shorts or any kind of anything that shows your bare legs. Please refrain from wearing sandals or other types of shoes that do not fully cover your feet. And the standard uniform for young adults is going to be a white polo shirt, dark blue or black slacks, and black shoes. And if you do not have this right now, it's fine. Please just try to wear like a white t-shirt or something light. And if you don't have slacks, wear like dark jeans and dark shoes. And for class rules, so please try not to be late and please try not to be early. It's okay if you have to, please just let the LICs know beforehand so we can expect this to be happening. Please refrain from using your phones or talking amongst yourselves when someone is presenting up here. And when you're leaving, please just remember to push in your chairs. So if you're unable to make it to, this is one of those things, this is a goal I hope we can eventually accomplish, which is if you're unable to make it to class, please let the LIC or me know through either text, Facebook message, or email, just a common courtesy so we can have an idea who's going to be coming to class each week. And here's our contact information. So this is my phone number, and then if you want to add me on Facebook, just search Alan Chen Diamond Bar. And my profile picture is just
Can you send out those information?
Right. So I'll send this PowerPoint out afterwards. I'll send out this information to everyone through email. Or you can also send an email, and then for LSC Eric, you can also contact LSC Eric to let him know if you don't want to let me know. He doesn't use Facebook as much, so the best ways to contact him will be either through text or email. And when contacting, please always make sure to introduce yourself first, just so we both have your numbers to save that's the first time. But just to avoid any misunderstandings or confusion in the future, just let us know and it'll make things easier for all of us. And here's some common temple terminology that we use in the temple. It's okay if we're going to be going over this for a few weeks, so I don't expect everyone to try to memorize all of these right now because there is a few, and some of us may not have seen all of these before. But in the temple, when you want to refer to yourself, instead of saying I or me in English or like Chinese wall, you want to use the word 后学. So you just say 后学some boy, for example. I just said I, Alan. And then when you refer to others, you have two options. You can either use 学长 or 全权. So there's no preference about which one is better or which one you have to use in given situations. They're pretty much interchangeable, so you can either pick one and stick with it, or you can just use both of them whichever one comes naturally out when you're talking. And then when you see the masters in the temple, so master is what we call them in English, but in Chinese we would refer to them as 点传师. And then two other specific terms for temple positions is temple host, which is called 坛主, and lecturer, which is called 讲师. So right now you might be thinking, oh, I don't know who exactly in the temple is a 坛主 or who in the temple is a 讲师. That's actually okay right now. So these, you can use them if you know that the Dao members you see in the temple belong in these categories. But these are more specific terms that you do not necessarily have to use. It's okay if you just refer to everyone as 学长 or 全权, and it'll be totally fine. The only exception is for masters. There's 4 masters in the temple, so hopefully our goal is to eventually recognize all 4 masters, so we will refer to them as masters. But everyone else in the temple, if you're not quite sure if they're a temple host or a lecturer, you can just refer to them as 学长 or 全权. Okay, so I know this is a lot of information. We'll go over this weekly, and eventually I believe that everyone can get this down, get all of this information down. And let's get started with today's topic. So for my lectures, before I begin, I will usually have a lecture outline, which is what I use to present the main topics of what I want to discuss today. So even if everyone forgets all the little details after the lecture, since we're just going over it once, I hope that at least you can go away with you could leave class knowing the main points that I wanted to discuss. And because this is the very first class, I wanted to start off with the most basic question, which is, why should I come to the temple? And I want to discuss this topic to a number of different viewpoints. So I want to first start off with discussing why older generations attend the temple. And then after discussing these reasons, I want to go over, do these reasons apply to us as young adults? And after going through that, I want to go into more can we attend the temple even if we don't believe in Guandao? So we're going to discuss some non-religious reasons, and finally we'll just go over we'll just end with a short conclusion. So the reasons why older generations attend. I want to start off with a very basic question. How many of us are actually here because of someone else? Maybe it might be your parents or your grandparents, or even someone like Master Cherry contacting you and telling you, first class of 2019, please attend if you can. Whatever the reason may be, a lot of us might not be here because we wanted to do so ourselves. And another situation is, how many of us are here because we essentially grew up with the temple as part of our lives? I, for one, belong in the second category. Now, although you may belong in these two categories, and you are here because you want to yourself, there's probably very few of us that at this point in our lives are coming to the temple every week because we choose to do so. Yet, I can promise everyone that the majority of the adults you see in the temple, the Dao seniors that are older than us, if not everyone, is actually here on their own because of their own will. So, what is the difference between our Dao seniors and ourselves? Why are they so passionate and dedicated and coming every week while we are unable to? And why are they trying to push us to come every week? So I want to discuss the 3 reasons why I think older generations attend. The first reason they attend is because they want to build their wisdom. So by coming to the temple regularly, you're going to be listening to a lot of Tao often, and you're also going to be analyzing numerous sutras. And in the process, you're going to be gaining a lot of new knowledge and wisdom about Yiguan Dao and how to live your life in a positive manner. So for our older generation, for our Dao seniors, one reason why they might be attending often is because by attending, they're learning how to imitate the Buddhas. They're like learning their positive aspects, how they should be living their lives, and they're going to be working on doing good deeds and earning merit. So by attending the temple, they will find a life direction and discover a purpose in what they want to do with their lives. The second reason is that their ancestors will shine bright. So before I describe what ancestors will shine bright means, I'll use a story that hopefully gives some insight. So the story is called Dream About Grandma, and the story is talking about this Dao member who was attending this Dao Sutra class. And in this Dao Sutra class, it was towards the end where they all had to share a reflection. And when it was this Dao member's turn to share the reflection, he shared with everyone present that he had actually attended this class twice. So the first time he attended the class the year before, he didn't finish the class. He dropped the class halfway and he never went back and finished it. And then the reason he decided to attend the class the second time, the following year, was because right before it was time for the class to start, he had a dream. And in his dream, he met his grandma. And his grandma told him, "Why did you not finish the class the first time? Because you didn't finish the class, I was not able to receive any merit. So this time, you must attend the class and finish the class so I receive the merit." And that's why he decided that this time around, he was going to finish the class. And the reason why he had the dream about his grandma was because when we do merit in the temple, whether it's listening to lectures, our ancestors will also be able to gain part of the merit. So while we are physically sitting in these chairs listening to a lecturer speak, our ancestors are going to be standing by the door or behind the classroom, and they are also able to listen to the lecture. So we are not only gaining wisdom for ourselves by listening, we are also helping our ancestors out. The third reason is because you want to avoid disaster and mitigate bad karma. So let's start with the bad karma part first. So the temple, as mentioned earlier by Master Cherry, is a place is a home of Buddhas. So normally this is where Buddhas are going to be residing. So the temple think of the temple as a place of positive energy. So when you come to the temple, you're also exposing yourself to this positive energy. So if you have bad karma, there's this saying that's more commonly said in Chinese that I've roughly translated to in English is you can turn a big thing into a small thing, and then a small thing into nothing. And these things are referring to bad karma. So by coming to the temple often, you can turn your bad karma from something that's very big to something that's smaller. And if you attend enough, you can mitigate bad karma in all. And the reason for this is because in addition to your ancestors listening to the lecture when you attend lecture, the people who you owe favors to in your past lives, the ghosts, they are also able to attend. So in the process, by attending lecture, you're paying off any debt you may owe to people in your past lives. And thus, when you have fully paid it off by listening to enough lectures, the Buddhas will take away these people, and you will no longer share a connection. So for the avoid disaster, I want to use a real life example. This is referring to the Typhoon Morakot. So Typhoon Morakot was a typhoon that caused the largest flood in Taiwan as of date in August 8, 2009. And the flood killed hundreds of people, and it mainly targeted the southern part of Taiwan. But today I don't want to talk about the disaster that much in detail. Instead, I want to talk about a miracle that happened. So, in one of the small villages in Taiwan, there was also Typhoon Morakot also passed through this village. But for some reason, the village was left unharmed by all the floods and the heavy rain. And the reason was because there was a temple that was actually opened in this village a few days prior to the typhoon. Here's the temple right here. And then, so the village is located right in front of a mountain. And when the typhoon hit, it caused a landslide. So then all these rocks and dirt started falling down the mountain. And as it was approaching the village at the bottom of the mountain, when it got close, the landslide suddenly changed direction. And its path of destruction totally avoided the village, and thus the village was left unharmed. So the village was left unharmed, but everything around it was destroyed, and people thought, "Wow, it must be a miracle. What happened?" And eventually they realized the reason was because of this temple. Because as they decided to go back and see where exactly the landslide started changing direction, and they noticed it was right when it was about to hit the temple. It was only like 100 meters or so when it was going to hit the temple, and it switched direction. So because of this, the main religion in Taiwan is Christianity. But due to this event, a lot of people in the village and locals around the village decided to start believing in Iguan Dao, and they received Dao just because they saw this and believed that it was a miracle. So, now that I mentioned these 3 reasons of why our Dao seniors believe in Iguan Dao, I wanted to bring up the topic: do these reasons apply to us? So the first reason, gain knowledge, imitate the Buddhas, and life direction. Does it apply? Yes, I think it can apply. The second reason, ancestors will shine bright. Yes, I think it still can apply. So the third reason, avoid disaster, mitigate bad karma. Once again, the result is yes. So if all three of these reasons are yes, in my opinion, how come we are still not like these Dao seniors, and why do we not have the same passion and devotion as they do? And the solution that I came up with was, it came down to belief. So our Dao seniors, whether it may be because they're older, so they have a lot more experience, or they've been at the temple longer, but regardless of each and every one of their personal reasons, they believe a lot in these 3 reasons. Whereas we as young adults, we may not all be at the same level as they are in terms of belief. So it may be hard for us to decide we are going to come to the temple every week, or we are going to practice Dao because of these 3 reasons. And the purpose of our class is to teach these fundamentals and go into more detail about these reasons and the religion as a whole, so that we are hopefully you will want to believe more, or you will consider, you will become more educated so you can make your own decision. So, can we come to the temple even if we do not believe at this point? And the answer is actually yes. There are actually several non-religious reasons why you can come to the temple. And I just want to go through them briefly and see if one or more multiple reasons can apply to you. So the first reason is the most basic reason. It's community service hours. So some of us here may need community service hours, and the temple as a non-profit religious organization can provide those hours for you. We can provide a certification of completion or volunteer hours as long as you are attending the temple regularly and requesting the number of hours you're actually attending. But let's say this doesn't apply to you, as community service hours, this requirement usually only applies to high school students, and not every high school actually requires this. So what would be another reason to come? Another reason that you can come is because the temple is a very good place to do good deeds. We will be going over this in a future lecture about the three main types of good deeds in more detail, but I just want to briefly mention them today. I did not write them out on the PowerPoint slide, but I can add it in later if needed. So the three types of good deeds are monetary contribution, dharma contribution, and volunteer contribution. So monetary contribution is when someone donates money to the temple so that the temple can use it to help improve in a number of ways. Maybe it's donating it to people in need, or it's printing Tao books. There's been multiple reasons that the money is used for good places, and you can gain merit by donating money to the temple, which is the monetary contribution. The second contribution is the dharma contribution. The dharma contribution is where you lecture to other Tao members about Tao. So that usually means like standing in front and then presenting in class. And then the final one is volunteer contribution. Volunteer contribution simply just means helping the temple out in physical ways, such as sweeping the floors, mopping the bathrooms, vacuuming. And for us young adults right now, most of us, it might be more challenging to do the first type of contribution, the monetary and dharma, because due to our age or maybe experience, we may not be as ready to take those steps. And hopefully our goal is to eventually get into being able to do those two contributions. But anyone can do the volunteer contribution right now. So the volunteer contribution is a good way to start earning merit for yourself. The third reason why it would be good to attend temple is because you can improve your character and personality. So just from personal experience, growing up in the temple, I've seen many kids in the upstairs class that we used to teach. They might come to temple starting off very naughty and rude, but over time as they sit through these classes, come to the temple regularly, they start becoming better people. And when they leave, they're usually much kinder and much more polite. And although this might not apply to all of us here today, since we are no longer children, one thing that may apply is the saying that one is influenced by the people they surround themselves with. So if you normally surround yourself with around people with questionable morals, and your friends are not exactly the best crowd to be hanging out with, even though you may start off as a very positive, good individual yourself, you'll slowly start changing in the opposite direction, and you just might become more like them. And likewise, if you surround yourself with positive and good people, then you'll slowly become better yourself. And at the temple, even if everyone is not already pretty good, everyone here at the temple is trying to be good. That's one of the reasons why they're here and cultivating themselves, is because they want to improve. So even if you do not feel it personally by coming to the temple, you will slowly become better in different ways. Fourth reason, make lifelong friends. So here at the temple, so in life in general, you're going to have many people come in your life and leave your life. And that's just how life works. So, but sometimes some people will come in and enter your life, and they'll make a bigger impact on you than you thought was going to happen, and then they might never leave. And the reason for those friends are, well, there's multiple reasons, but one of them is because you may share a common goal or purpose. So this might be one of the reasons for you. If you come to the temple enough, maybe you'll build connections with other Tao members like I have. Fifth reason, building better relationships. So although you you might not believe in Iguan Dao at this point. One of the good reasons why you might be coming each week is because you know someone who does, and they're the ones that are pushing you to come. So even if you do not come, and even if you do not believe, by coming with them, you're in a way spending time with them. And you guys might not be sitting in the same class or be discussing the same thing or be learning the same information, but you will be sharing something in common that you can discuss over with and you can bond through. So it's a very good way to strengthen your bonds with the people the people you know in your life that do believe. And 6, just because. So sometimes you might not actually need a good reason to do something in life. One of the classes I've attended in the temple before, the question was brought up. So why do you come to the temple, to the students? And each of the students had to share what their personal reasons or what they thought was why they were coming to the temple. And most of the reasons were very typical, such as, my parents forced me to, or I grew up in the temple. But one of the reasons that stood out, and I still remember to this day, and I decided to bring it up, was because one of the students just said, just because. And they did not elaborate anymore. So when the LSCs tried to ask them, what do you mean by just because? Can you try to provide us with more specific details? Give us a situation, a story. What is any more specific reason why you're here? They were unable to answer the question. All they were able to say was they just come every week because it feels right to be here. Coming to the temple feels like they're doing something good. So they decide, even though they don't have any specific reason, and even though they can't explain it to people when they ask, as long as they feel that it's right for them, they'll come, that the temple is right for them in their life, they'll keep on coming. So this might be you. Maybe the first 5 reasons do not fit in this category, but it might just feel right to you, and you can just come just because. And I read one of the things that you might be thinking at this point, which after going through all this, is the second one, doing good deeds. So you might be thinking, if I do good deeds normally, such as volunteer at a food bank or a homeless shelter, is there any reason for me to come to the temple? If everything else doesn't really seem that definite, except for doing good deeds. You'll know when you're doing something good, because you're literally sweeping the bathroom or mopping the bathroom or vacuuming. So do I still have to come to the temple even if I do good deeds outside of the temple? And although there is some difference between doing good deeds in the temple and doing good deeds through other sources, such as the food bank or homeless shelter, we won't go into that in too much detail today. We have a future lecture on that. So I just want to approach this from a non-religious viewpoint, which is, although it's good, it's great that we are doing good deeds regardless of where we're doing them. But one difference between the temple and volunteering at a food bank or homeless shelter that I believe is, it's very hard for people to make it a weekly habit or a monthly habit to volunteer at a homeless shelter or a food bank constantly. Because unless you make it a top priority, everyone in life is very busy and everyone always seems to not have enough time. So if you don't if you don't tell yourself, I have to do this every single week, I have to do some type of good deed, I have to volunteer, it becomes very hard, and you might eventually, like most people, just end up not doing it. Now, volunteering and coming to the temple is also a requirement, and it will also require a lot of work, but I believe it's easier because there's multiple reasons why you could be coming to the temple, and you most likely also know someone who's coming to the temple, so they might be the ones pushing you, and it'll become a lot easier to come to the temple on a normal basis. So in conclusion, what do I do after listening to this class? So if after listening to this class, you're very passionate about coming to the temple and you're telling yourself, I want to come every single week, I'm going to earn a lot of merit, I'm going to do a lot of good deeds, then I succeeded and got the best situation possible. However, that's not very likely because we've only been discussing this for 40 minutes. It's just a very brief overview of a lot of information that we can go into more detail. So what's the best approach to this is that hopefully you might have found one of the reasons we've discussed today of why you should be coming to the temple, or you can consider these reasons yourself after class. And even if you have just one reason, that could be enough reason for you to keep on coming to the temple. And the more you come to the temple, the more you can learn, and the more you might build more reasons. But even if you don't have a single reason at this point, that's totally fine. Because in this class, we're not trying to force anyone to come here and believe in Guandao. What we want to do is that we just want to educate everyone so that everyone can have the necessary knowledge to make their own decisions. Because one of the things that is a challenge is sometimes we come to the temple and we don't actually know what's going on. No one explains it to us, and we get lost, and we don't even know where to ask the questions that we have. So this class, the purpose is just to be a source of information for young adults to make this decision. And going with that, so this might sound a little abstract right now. So to give a concrete goal, what you can do next week is you can start working on your volunteer contribution. So next week we have our yearly temple cleaning. This is just a cleaning that we have once a year where we clean the entire temple. And it's a very good way to get to know other DAO members in your class, in other classes, and in the same way, earn a lot of merit through hard work and helping make the temple cleaner. And the yearly temple cleaning begins at 9 a.m. if I'm correct. Right? Okay. So it begins at 9 a.m. and it's a very good way to start earning merit if you have not already. And so this is just the first class of many. Our class, for the first year, at least, you're going to be discussing a new topic every week, a new fundamental, and we are going to be, and sometimes some of these topics might seem more related than others, but overall, this is just, our goal is just to provide a lot of information about this religion and Guandao in general, and then after that, we'll have a reflection at the end of the year and see how we're going to, how we're going to go from there. So if I've said anything wrong today, I beg for God and Buddha's forgiveness for all the Dao transmitting masters' directions and everyone's understanding. Thank you.